The Whispering Lantern. A story from Echoes of Imagination. At lifeshouts.com. The coastal town of Ashmore was a place steeped in mist and legend, perched on the edge of a wild, untamed sea. The townspeople whispered of strange lights that danced upon the waves at dusk and old tales of a lighthouse that had vanished long ago. These stories, however, were largely forgotten, lost in the busy hum of modern life, until a young writer named Evelyn arrived, seeking inspiration for her next novel. Evelyn had rented a small cottage on the cliffs overlooking the sea, hoping the solitude and the whispering winds would ignite her creativity. Every evening, she sat by her window, gazing out at the horizon where the sky met the ocean, her mind drifting through the possibilities of unwritten stories. It was on one such evening, just as the sun dipped below the water, that she first saw it, a faint flickering light in the distance, moving in a slow, mesmerizing dance. Intrigued, Evelyn decided to investigate. She donned her coat, grabbed a flashlight, and made her way down the narrow, winding path that led to the beach. The air was cool and crisp, filled with the scent of salt and seaweed. As she neared the shore, the light grew brighter, yet it remained elusive, as if it were beckoning her to follow. Evelyn walked along the beach, her eyes fixed on the mysterious glow. The tide was low, revealing a series of rocky outcrops that jutted out into the sea like ancient sentinels. The light seemed to originate from one of these rocks, so she carefully made her way across the slick stones, her heart pounding with a mix of excitement and apprehension. When she reached the source, she was surprised to find an old, weathered lantern, its glass cracked and its metal frame rusted. The light flickered within it, impossibly bright and warm, despite the lantern's age and condition. As Evelyn reached out to touch it, the lantern seemed to hum softly, a whisper of a melody carried on the wind. In that moment, a voice spoke to her, not from the lantern, but from the shadows. "I see you found my lantern," it said, the words tinged with sorrow and nostalgia. Evelyn turned sharply and saw a figure emerging from the darkness, a man tall and gaunt, with eyes that reflected the lantern's glow. "Who are you?" Evelyn asked, her voice barely more than a whisper. The man stepped closer, his gaze distant and wistful. "I am Alistair," he replied, "the last keeper of the Ashmore Lighthouse." Evelyn's mind raced. The lighthouse had been a legend, a story passed down through generations. It was said to have vanished 100 years ago, swallowed by the sea during a great storm. Yet here stood its keeper, as real as the rocks beneath her feet. "But the lighthouse," Evelyn began, her voice trailing off. "Was lost to time," Alistair finished. "And so was I. Bound to this lantern, waiting for someone who could set me free." Evelyn felt a shiver run down her spine. "How can I help you?" Alistair's eyes met hers, filled with a depth of longing she could scarcely comprehend. "The lantern," he said softly. "It holds my soul, trapped between this world and the next. To free me, you must carry it to the cliff's edge, where the lighthouse once stood, and let its light shine one last time." Evelyn hesitated, the weight of his words sinking in. She picked up the lantern, its warmth seeping into her hands, and made her way back to the cliffs. Alistair followed, his presence a comforting shadow by her side. As they reached the cliff's edge, the wind howled around them, and the waves crashed against the rocks below. Evelyn held the lantern high, its light cutting through the gathering darkness. For a moment, the air seemed to shimmer, and she glimpsed the ghostly outline of the lighthouse, standing proud against the night sky. The lantern's light grew brighter, almost blinding, and Evelyn heard a soft sigh of relief as Alistair's form began to fade. "Thank you," he murmured, his voice a fading echo. "You have given me peace." The light flickered one last time before extinguishing, leaving Evelyn alone on the cliffs, the lantern cold and lifeless in her hands. She stood there for a long time, staring out at the sea, her heart heavy yet strangely at peace. In the days that followed, Evelyn wrote feverishly, her mind ablaze with inspiration. Her new novel, The Whispering Lantern, told the story of a haunted lighthouse and the love and loss bound within its walls. It became a sensation, praised for its haunting beauty and emotional depth. Evelyn never saw Alistair again, but on quiet nights, when the wind whispered through the trees and the sea glowed under the moonlight, she often thought of him and the light that had guided her to a story worth telling. She understood now that some tales are meant to be written, not just for their own sake, but to set free the souls who live within them. Make sure to like and subscribe.